Your first year of calisthenics is the most crucial time to make sure that you're building the correct strength, foundation, and technique on key exercises that are going to set you up for later, more advanced skills. And it is so easy to get this wrong and waste so much time flocking around with incorrect exercises, the incorrect skills and incorrect technique that just aren't going to build you the right strength. So if you want to save yourself a whole lot of time and frustration, you should be aiming to work toward these 5 goals within your first year. And I promise if you tick these off, you will set yourself up and you'll be doing some crazy shit in absolutely no time. I've been a calisthenics coach for close to 5 years and accredited exercise scientist for about 8 years, and help close to 1,000 beginners unlock some crazy skills. And if you can tick off these 5 goals, as I said, you're going to set yourself up. I'm going to walk you through the form and the technique to make sure you're mastering it, which is so incredibly important. The regression, so we can slowly work toward the actual main skill. And then obviously the aim we're trying to get to tick off that goal, and then how we can work beyond that. So let's get stuck into it. The first goal we're working toward is perfecting the hanging leg raise. The most crucial thing we have to make sure we're doing is we're fixing those hips in place. I don't want to see any swinging or kipping and doing those momentum type leg raises. You have to make sure those hips are staying nice and stationary, and the only thing that's moving is those knees. Here we're building both the strength in our hip flexors, our core, while also strengthening that grip strength, which is obviously super important for all of those harder pull exercises that we'll be working toward. In terms of the regression, so obviously we can even start these lying and start building some lying strength with the leg raises there. And then ideally we do want to try and work towards some hanging knee raises. Here we're trying to drive our knees up as high as we possibly can, while obviously keeping them slightly flexed. Over time, we can progress by simply lengthening our knees out slightly more and slightly more as we build that strength. And the end goal that we're trying to get to is obviously getting our legs completely extended and at that 90-degree position. So you don't necessarily have to go much higher, at least for the time being. Aim to get in that 90-degree with our knees and ankles in line with our hips. Once you're able to get there, if we can tick off 8 hanging leg raises with nice, slow and controlled form, keeping our hips in place, you'll set yourself up. In terms of progressing beyond that, you can even start doing some tucked front lever variations or trying to lift your legs up even higher past that 90-degree. So the second goal essentially has 2 different goals put together, but there's one end goal that we definitely have to try and work toward, and that is push-up variations. Firstly, we're building up our push-up strength. What we have to make sure with our push-ups is we're keeping our elbows tucked and our hips nice and straight, and we're getting that full range of motion from chest to the ground all the way up to those elbows extended. Once we're confident in that and we're getting 15, even 20 push-ups, we can start working toward more of those pike push-ups. But these are incredibly hard to get right. You have to make sure you're starting in that triangle position with your hips nice and high and on your toes. And then from here, we want to shift our weight forward while maintaining a vertical forearm. So we don't want our elbows shifting back or our elbows shifting out to the side. Keep them tucked and nice and vertical. And then from there, we shift the weight forward, touch our forehead to the ground, and then we push up toward our hips. We're not pushing straight up like this. That's the last thing I want to see done. That way we're building the strength a lot more specifically to that handstand push-up. However, this is incredibly difficult to get right as a beginner. So what we can do is we can use banded variations to build that strength and obviously that technique as well. Or we can regress it with a half piked, the same form and the exact same technique, but we're just not going to have our hips as high. So our hands and feet are slightly further away from each other. Once you've worked toward that pike push-up and you've nailed that form, work toward 6 pike push-ups as your goal, which is deceivingly harder to get right with the correct form. What you want to work toward is elevated pike push-ups after that. But regardless, tick off that 6 pike push-ups next. You guys knew it was coming, but pull-ups. Pull-ups are without a doubt the most important pull exercise, and I think in terms of calisthenic strength, between this and those pike push-ups are without a doubt the most important exercises to master first. But what is the goal and how can we build to it as quickly as possible? In terms of the technique, we really can't go too wrong. You just have to make sure you're coming from a dead hang and getting that chin over the bar. We want to be doing a hollow body pull-up as well. This is where we keep our ribs compressed and we're not trying to excessively arch that back like you would with more of a bodybuilder pull-up. So just keep the ribs compressed all the way down, all the way up. Try to keep the legs nice and straight, core engaged, we're set. But in terms of building toward actually getting a bodyweight pull-up, which is certainly not easy, the best way to get there is banded pull-ups. Working in those low rep ranges, somewhere around that 1 to 6 rep range is pretty good, and just slowly regress the bands down. Obviously, not everyone has access to bands, so what we can do to build it up is leg assisted pull-ups. We can also do inverted row, lat pull downs. There are plenty of variations to build up that vertical pulley strength. Just make sure we're keeping it super strength focused. So once you've built up the capacity to be able to do a full pull-up, what's the aim? You hear a lot of different people say 25 pull-ups, 30 pull-ups, 20 pull-ups. I think that is overkill. Anything over 10 reps, we start to build a little bit more endurance. What I think you should be aiming for is to get at least 10 reps. If you can tick off that goal, you can continue to build them up, or you can start adding in some harder variations like weighted pull-ups or side-to-side pull-ups. So we are ticking off a lot of key areas. We've got the essential pull strength, the essential push strength, as well as that essential core strength. So now with the fourth goal, we're ticking off balance. So obviously calisthenics handstands are absolutely essential no matter what you want to progress to. It really sets the core foundation. And making it a goal in your first year is absolutely essential, and I think it is definitely doable for absolutely everyone. It just requires consistency. Without going into an excessive handstand tutorial, wall-assisted variations are without a doubt your best friend. Build up your capacity to being overhand, build up your shoulder strength by slowly working your way up to a wall-assisted hold, then slowly incorporating some balancing attempts, both stomach and chest to wall. Once you start noticing you're getting a little bit better at that, you can start doing some freestanding attempts, and before you know it, you'll have that handstand. Obviously, it's very oversimplified, and there are some drills that we can do to help increase that learning. But I promise you the most important thing you can get out of this is consistency. You just have to get this in. Even if you're just doing 10 minutes each day, that is really going to set up your handstand. It's not about how long your sessions are, it's about how frequent your sessions are. 10 to 20 minutes every day, or at the least every second day, even twice a day, is going to really help. So guys, the fifth and final goal, which is arguably the most important goal on this list, it's actually being consistent and enjoying what you're doing. And before that frustrates you, there's actually a secret to unlocking it that I'm going to share with you. So we're always trying to unlock things instantly and kind of tick off that next goal, that next goal, that next goal. And obviously, as I've mentioned, this is important. But what is the most important thing above that is just actually enjoying the training, having fun with it, and creating consistency. And before you know it, I promise you'll be just like I am in my 5th year. And genuinely, I feel like I've just started calisthenics, but I'm almost actually in my 6th year, which is pretty crazy. The only issue with this, and the secret to actually unlocking it, is having a sense of community. And obviously calisthenics is very niche. We don't have the luxury of training with a whole group of people all the time, especially if where you're training. And when I started, I definitely didn't have that sense of community, and it's something that I severely lack. Hence why I've created a completely free online calisthenics community. You get masterclasses there, coaching support, and there's even programs that you can follow to really unlock a lot of the goals we've set about here and even get on further. So I highly recommend having a suss of that. It's completely free, as I've said. And I promise with that community support, you'll be looking good and doing crazy shit in absolutely no time. Chuck a like, subscribe, send it to your friends, whatever. Have a good one.